Thank you guys for coming here, and thank you for all the visitors and everybody from the Knoll Center and John G. Stewart. I'm super excited to be here. In fact, I couldn't even sleep last night. I was so excited to present. This is actually my first presentation ever, and my friend Scott in the back, who constructed this program and built this program over the course of maybe 8 or 7 years, he gave me an opportunity to speak. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story about how we met. But first I want to tell you, I was so nervous when I came. Scott usually runs marathons before he does a gig like this. And for every gig, because he knows that he has to really clear his mind, and a marathon running 42 kilometers would really clear his head because it's so strenuous, it burns off all that extra energy, and it just keeps you really focused. Just like you guys enjoy gym class to help you guys in class, and it burns off the extra energy so you guys can focus a little bit better. It's the same thing for us. So Scott invited me and he said, do you want to run half a marathon with me? I'm going to run the full thing, but do you want to run half? I said, yeah, sure. I mean, I haven't trained for it, but I said, yeah, why not? You know, like, let's do big things. Since it's my first time, we're in Winnipeg, I'd love to. And then he starts, a couple hours later, he says, hey, Mike, what if we extended it to maybe like 30K? I said, yeah, I could do 30K. At home, I run 10 kilometers. That's no problem. And then the day right before the race, maybe like the night before, he says, Mike, do you want to run the full marathon with me? And I thought, wow, like if it helps him that much to present to you guys, and I want to do a good job as well. I said, you know what, Scott? Yes, I'm going to run 42K. So we went to Traherne, we ran 42K. It took us 6 hours. We were so sore, we were so tired, but we did it because we really want to be here and do the best job we can. And I wore my funky shoes that I wore for the race because I want them to remind me while I'm nervous up here, because I'm really nervous. I just want them to remind me that, you know, I did that for you guys so I can do my best, and just to remind me that I'm here and I shouldn't be afraid. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit. Thank you, guys. So yeah, I didn't doubt myself, I just believed. And now I'm here, and I want to talk to you guys about the power of choice. So this is something I learned from Scott and a whole bunch of people in my life, that one thing that people can't take from you, one thing that people can't control is your thoughts. Nobody can make you think anything. And that's one thing we have full control over. Sometimes things happen in our lives that we don't have control over. We can't control what people say or what they do or what they act like or what they think either. The only thing we can really control is what we think about. And that's the important lesson that I'll be explaining today. How sometimes things happen in our lives and we come up with a thinking that we choose that kind of creates the kind of person we are, and that kind of builds us into the kind of person we are. So we have a choice. A lot of times we can choose something very positive. A lot of times we can choose something very neutral, something very negative as well. And I'll explain that in a minute. So I'm going to tell you 3 stories about that lead up to kind of how I became the person I am, and eventually how I met Scott Gallagher, who's mentoring me and teaching me how to run his programs. So we could categorize what I'm saying in 2 things. So what happened, which is what actually happened, an event in my life, and I'll tell you 3 of them, and what I made it mean. So the event happened was just outside circumstances. I couldn't control what people did. I couldn't really, I had no control over it. I just was part of it. But what I did have control over is what I made it mean, what I chose to think or believe about what happened. So I'll tell you the story about my first thought, and which kind of shaped me. And I'll tell you it's a negative one. It's not really a sob story, but I was in senior kindergarten, and we were practicing our ABCs, just writing one letter. I think it was the letter H on half a page, just trying to do it as neatly as possible, just doing my homework. I remember it was challenging, it was really frustrating. I didn't have the coordination to do it, and I was making a lot of mistakes. We didn't have erasers in class, so we only had pencils. So I licked my thumb, rubbed out each letter, and did it over again. And my teacher came over to mark. She looked at my paper, and she said, Michael, no, wrong, messy, messy, messy. She wrote a big messy on my paper, and I stopped and I froze. And at that point, I chose to think something. A thought came into my head, and I said, I'm getting in trouble, so there must be something wrong with me. And the thought that came to me, I looked around and everybody else was doing fine, and the thought that came to me was, I must be dumb. If there's something wrong with me, I must be dumb. if I can't even get letters properly and I got wrong for finishing my assignment, there's something wrong with me. And that thought was the thought that I chose. I could have thought many other different things. I could have thought, wow, Miss Horgan's just really mean. Or I could have thought, you know what, I didn't have an eraser, but I came up with a genius way to erase something. I'm a genius. I must be a genius. But the thought that I chose at that time was, I must be dumb.